Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a frames overview, trying to cover all the parameters so that you can feel more comfortable when playing with it. So let's get started. Yeah, frames is an average synthesizer. It allows you to especially granulate, but you can also oscillate. And before I show you some details here with a big screenshot, so basically here you'll find the interface very familiar if you are familiar with the RC. So you have the status bar when you can set the tempo and the preset, and then we have two panels. In these two panels can be redundant. You can see exactly the same information on the top panel here on the bottom panel. We have 4 layers, and the layers are selected using these layer buttons. And as you can see, if you click on the layer 1, it will also change below. And if you press on the layer 2, it will also change below. And this is one of particular aspects really important, is that you can choose to see only one layer on the top and another layer on the second without changing the two at the same time. For that, you need to unlock here this lock. So basically you can see the layer 1 here and whatever layer you want to see here on the bottom. So we have the blue color above and the red color below. And to do this kind of mixture between the top and the bottom visualizations, you need to unlock this lock here. Okay. Let's start with the Granulator. Okay, so first of all, you need to be able to load something into frames. To load a sample, you need to click on the load sample button. Yeah, in this one you can choose to record something, and the scissor is to cut a recording. The trash bin is to delete the current sample from the layer, and this is the copy and paste buttons. And you can also choose between waveform, this is a loaded sample, or live input. As you can see, I'm talking and I'm seeing the buffer being filled with my own voice. Okay, but let's start with samples first. Let's search for a sample. We have plenty of original sounds and high quality ones. To preview a sample while you are navigating, you just need to press here the headphones. There is one sample that I like very much, which is this sample is called Braguesa, because there is a typical guitar here in Braga, which is called Braguesa, and it has a really beautiful sound. So let's use this sample as a starting point for our exploration. One of the most basic parameters of the Granulator is precisely the offset, because it allows you to control the position of the window within the sample where you are going to granulate. So, and then there is a size. The size allows you to control the size of the window. But we have more basic parameters, such as the active, which controls if the layer is active or not. Right now it's shut down. The solo, which it's very useful to use the solo when you have more than one layer and you want to fine-tune the sound of that layer. And this is the button that allows you to choose between Granulator engine and Oscillator engine. But let's go back to Granulator. Okay, so in the pen you control the panoramic. If you double tap a parameter, it goes to the default value. So okay, and the level of the layer, you can control it here. And the key button, which is between the pen and the level parameters, allows you to control the way the Granulator responds to keyboard input. When it's on the key mode, the pitch of the sound depends on the keyboard. But if you press the key and switch to free mode, the keyboard won't affect the pitch of the Granulator. So whatever key you play, it will not affect the pitch. And in this mode, in order to change the pitch of the Granulator, you need to use the coarse or the fine knob. Okay. And then we have the filter. The filter has 5 modes, and if you are familiar with DRC, you will know that these are the exact same modes. Let's switch again to key mode. And the EG2 allows you, this is actually a shortcut, but you can also control this on the modulation matrix. There is the EG2 here, and basically it's a shortcut so that you can easily control the amount of envelope that goes to the filter. So we have the cutoff completely shut down, and we are controlling the control with the EG2. Okay, let's keep moving. Then we have the window. The window basically it's the grain envelope. It's usually it's very good to control to smooth the edges. Basically, it allows you to smooth the sound to avoid clicks, especially when you have big variations from one point to another. Can you hear it? Okay, here we have clicks, and like this we start to smooth out. So basically it follows the curve of the window, along the window. And let's increase a bit the size and reduce the density. So basically with the density we control the number of grains that are playing at that are available to be fired, So right now we only have one grain, and if we increase the density, we can go up to 20 grains per layer. And the mode in which they are fired depends on the state of this button. By default, this is on an even state. Even because we split the space between the offset and the size of the window, this space, we divide it evenly by the number of grains. So if we have like 2 grains, it will, as you can see, they are evenly spaced. And if we choose the timer, so basically here we are setting the time of the fire rate. Depending on the amount of the knob, it will fire as much as it can. When it's on the maximum value, the time between fire grain fire is so small that when you are not playing and you start playing, they will come almost all together, and this will give this saturated sound. It can become quite intensive depending on the sound that is on. Okay, so let's keep it even for now. And we have the tune. The tune basically it's a parameter that allows you to control the pitch of the grain. This parameter is modulated through the matrix, while the coarse isn't. The coarse is like a main thing, and the tune is besides being modulated on the matrix, you can also affect it with a random factor. So the random factors are below all of these parameters. So let me show you. So basically we have here the offset, and below we have the random factor of the offset. Above we have the size, and below we have the random factor of the size. Above we have the density, and below we have the random factor of the density, and so on. So this is valid for the tune. And here we have the amp spread, which is like giving a bit of randomness each time a grain is fired, but in amplitude. So let me try to show you. Let me reduce the amount of grains. So I've made the amp spread to the maximum, so each grain will have a different amplitude, which is random. Can you feel it? The same happens for the stereo. So let's make this again default. So in this case, each grain will have a different pan affected to it. So now let's add a bit of randomness to the offset. So random on the offset allows the fire to be done ahead of the offset parameter or behind the offset parameter. And the same happens for the size. So if we give random to the size, it can end before or after the size boundaries. And if we mix a bit of the two, okay. I think we have too much stereo spread. Okay, we could now increase the density a little bit. All right. And there is one parameter I didn't talk about yet, which is the rand color. So basically, the random is white noise, right? And if random color basically controls the spectrum of this randomness, you know, we can make it more close or spreaded. Basically allows you to control the range of the random, you know. And then we have the delay and reverb knobs, and these are basically sends. You can send the output of this layer to the delay and to the reverb. Let's see how it sounds. Beautiful. And we could also add reverb. With only one sample, we have already a really nice sounding effect. Okay, so I've loaded a sample, but I could have recorded the sample. Let's clear this sample file and let's record a new one. Hey, this is me recording. So now we have this. So I've used the iPad microphone to do this, but if you had the sound card connected to the iPad, it would record the audio from the sound card. We also have a button to control if you want to record mono or stereo. This button over here, mono, if I click here, it will turn to stereo, and if I record again, the recording will be made in stereo. And let's say that you have a set of machines and you want to granulate the live input. So to do that, you use the waveform button. Right now we are in waveform mode, but if you click on it, it will go to input mode, and you can already see that we are having the microphone input here on the waveform visualization. If I press a key now, I'm granulating the live input. The sound you hear is the sound of the grains passing through the live input buffer. And in here you can change the buffer size. You can make it bigger. You can make it bigger. You can make it even bigger. Bigger the size, it will become more CPU demanding. So until we find a way of optimizing this, I would recommend to have a small buffer. You can even freeze the buffer. Let's say I want to freeze. Okay, so this is how you granulate live input. You just need to use this button and switch between waveform or input modes. Let's get back to Granulator, waveform mode, sorry. And let's load again the same wave file that was here before. Okay, so I think it's time to move on to other panels. So right now we are on the control and waveform. Let's move to the envelope. Sorry. Okay. So we have two EGs for layer, and on the EG you can use the touchscreen to manipulate the waveform, the amplitude, the envelope. Sorry. It's already late here. Or you can use the knobs. Okay. And we have seen many asking themselves about the Alt button. So basically this is Alt for alternate, and it basically allows you to access controls of these alternate functions of these knobs. If you choose to click Alt, then instead of curve, you will have the maximum time that a certain phase of the ADSR has. So let's say we want to have a bigger attack. Right now the default is like 1 second, but you could increase it to 10 seconds of attack. So instead of taking 1 second to get to the maximum amplitude, it will take 10 seconds. Okay, the same for the release. We could have a huge release. And we also have synced in times. So if you choose to press sync, instead of having a fixed amount of time for each phase, you have an amount of time that is synced to the BPM. You can see the interval on the knob. So you can go up to 8 bars. And since we are on the envelopes section, let me talk to you about the inversion. So basically the inversion allows you to create a mirror of the current envelope generator. So it starts on the maximum value and it goes to the bottom, and then it goes back up when you release the key. And it's very nice for certain aspects, but paying attention that when we do abrupt transitions from high values to low values, sometimes there are clicks, and they are perfectly natural. That's a natural consequence of going from high value to low value in a snap, you know. And there is also the link function. And what is the link function? So let's say that I'm not locked. I don't have the layers locked. So I have a layer 1 on the top and layer 2 on the bottom, and we are and we have this need of changing the envelope at the same time without having to go through each layer and choose the right amount for each EG. So if we choose to link them, when I move the attack of the first layer, it will automatically move on the second. This happens for all layers. When we link, we are basically, when we change the attack value of edge 1, we are changing all the edges at the same time. This can be quite useful when you are trying to make them all the same. Yeah, so basically this is like a utilitarian function. And to end with this panel, I just want to say that we have the attack velocity and the release velocity, which allows you to give keyboard expression to the attack and release. So, okay, let's remove the inversion and the link. And remove the attack here. Okay, so let's lock again. And the next panel is the matrix panel. So how can we modulate things in frames? Let's choose a smaller window size. One of the things of granulating is the movement we can create with the sound. So let's add this variation with the LFO to the offset. We can go to matrix and we choose, for instance, LFO1 offset. And when we are in the right intersection, right, we have LFO1 to offset, we increase the amount here. We can give it a positive amount or a negative amount. And depending on the amount you give, the range of the modulation will be more or less aggressive. If you want to reset this value, you just need to double click on the cell and it will go back to the default value. Now let's keep this. And now, by the way, we have two pages of modulations here in this button in the corner. You can switch between page 1 and page 2. You can basically control many parameters from the matrix. You can control the level, the pan, the cutoff, the resonance, the pitch, the FEM amount, the offset, the size, the density, the stereo spread, the amp spread, the random offset and the random size. So you can modulate the amount of randomness. This can be useful to create even more randomness, right? Random density and random tune. And please note that we have a PW here, and this PW parameter refers to the oscillator pulse width. And the oscillator, when it's in square mode, it has a pulse width. So basically you can modulate the pulse width in the matrix. Can you notice the color variation here? So basically we have the common parameters which are the level, pen, cutoff, resonance, pitch, and FM. All these parameters are common to oscillator and granulator mode. Then you have the offset, size, density, stereo spread, amp spread, random offset, random size, random density, random tune, and these are parameters that are from the granulator layer. And since we are right now on the oscillator mode, we cannot change these parameters because they belong to the oscillator mode. However, the pulse modulation, it's already available. Can you see the color variation? It's subtle, but it's there. So basically, if we go to control and change to granulator mode, you can see that now it's pulse modulation, a pulse width that is not available. So the cells have a different color depending of if they are available to interact or not, and of course the mode in which the layer is. Okay, let me reset this parameter. All right. Okay, so we now have an LFO modulating the offset. What about changing the LFO to be a sample and hold rather than a sine wave? Let's increase the rate. So this allows you to choose a different way of go through the matrix, go through the offset instead of just be dancing in a certain position. But okay, it was too high the modulation amount for the offset. Depending on what you want, you might want to have loads of amount or just a subtle amount. So basically in the LFO we have 4 LFOs, and you can switch between square wave, triangle, saw, sample and hold, and filtered sample and hold. And when the LFO is synced with time, well, all you know what that means, right? And the phase, when it's free, it will not. It will run free if it is on key. Every time you press a key, it will trigger a phase reset, and it will start from the very same point. This gives you more previsibility. Sorry. Yeah, previsibilidad. And the Arpeggiator. In this case, we have a really slow building sound. Let's try to change to something more fast rising. Okay, let's load another sound. And this is very interesting. I forgot to tell you about the reset function here in the modulation matrix that will clear all the parameters of this modulation matrix. I forgot to tell you about the gain parameter. Let's say you want to give a bit of gain to this sample. We have a saturator in the signal path, so it will never clip, it will always saturate. So let's say I want to copy this sample to another layer. Now I pressed copy and now go to the second layer and do paste. So with the same sound we are already adding texture and layering. So let's now add a third layer with the oscillator. So the only panel I didn't talk about yet is the global panel. In the global panel you can switch the voice mode. You can switch it to poly, mono or unison. You can also turn on legato or not. You have a main transpose. So basically this main transpose will affect all the layers at once. I've just realized that we probably need to quantize this now. Right now it's in free mode, but it's more useful if it is quantized. And then we have the glide, which is also known as portamento. FM mode, and I will come back here with more detail, but basically if you want to enable the FM mode, you just need to press on and then choose the mode you want for it to work. We'll come back here a bit later. Then we have the delay, and let's choose another delay that does not have a sound yet and try to find some sound that has a so let's make this track solo. Okay, so short sound, we can clearly hear the delay, and basically you can control the time of the delay. The feedback. Okay. If it is synced with the time or not, and we have the low pass and the high pass filter. And the spread allows you to control technically speaking is the offset between each of the delay lines. We have a stereo delay inside, so basically it creates an offset between each delay and gives you a sense of stereo. Okay, and the reverb. One important thing about the feedback. So on the feedback, when it's above 0.5, it will become self-oscillating. Depending on the amount of filter you have. So let's say you don't filter at all. So low pass is open, high pass is closed. So everything is passing through the filter, and feedback is at 0.5. At 0.5 it will stay forever. If you go above this point, it will start to grow because we have noise being fed into the delay, and it will sum every cycle, you know? So you can control this behavior with the filters. Now that I've closed the low pass filter, you can start hearing the sound vanishing along the time, and this can be used to create really interesting effects. The same for reverb's decay. When the reverb decay is above 0.5, it starts to reverb decay works in, it's more close to the end. So basically, when you get close to the maximum, it will start to be there forever. So depending on the damping. If of course if you have damping, it will end up somewhere near. Okay, so now we just need to talk about the main filters. You can control the filter through the graphic directly or with the knobs, and you can modulate the filter using LFOs or EGs. So you just need to select the LFO you want or the LG you want. Since we have 2 LGs for layer, we have 8 edges that are possible to control the filter. Okay, so I think I only need to talk about FM mode right now. Let's start with an empty patch. Okay, so we have a basic sine wave here, and if we switch to layer 2 and enable the oscillator, we have 2 sine waves. So let's create one. As you can see, FM mode is disabled, and FM mode is disabled, and for the same reason you cannot see this knob enabled. But as soon as we enable the FM mode, this knob will become available. So we are in a mode in which the layer 4 modulates layer 3, and layer 3 modulates layer 2, and layer 2 modulates layer 1. So right now, if I add FM amount, the output of this layer will affect the frequency of the layer 1. Let's see. However, this is a very important detail. Layer 2 is also giving sound. So if you press mono, you can still solo. If you press solo, you can still hear layer 2 playing. So let's say you want to use one layer as a modulation to another layer frequency, but you don't want it to produce sound, so you just need to remove the level from this layer. So we can now stop hearing the layer 2 because we have disabled the level of this layer. But if we remove the solo, you can see that the sound is still being hardly FM. So the layer 2 is not contributing to the sound, but its output is modulating the frequency of layer 2. So this can give you a wide range of twisted effects depending on the configuration you have. You can even use the Granulator output to modulate the frequency of another layer. So let's say that instead of having an oscillator on the layer 2, I have a Granulator. And now I load a file. So this FM modulation is being done with the output of the Granulator. This can provide you some crazy effects depending on the sample you are using. master here and the pre-gain. So basically pre-gain allows you to amplify the signal before entering the saturation stage. So that you get a saturated sound. So, one of the cool things about frames is that it allows you to save patches on our Cloud Sync system. So let's say that you like very much this patch and you have been working on your iPad on the streets, and now you want to take it home to your desktop version of frames. So we can choose to save this patch and choose the cloud bank, and let's give it a name, cool patch, and save as. So when you get to the computer, you just need to open your cloud bank and the patch with your samples will be there. Even if the samples are your own samples, the samples will be copied to the cloud. For this reason, we only allow a maximum to load the maximum size of custom samples. So basically the sample loading is confined to 10 seconds of audio in wave, around 2 megabytes. That's why, and let me show you, if we choose to record a new sample, A1, 2, 3, oops, it crashed. Sorry guys. So let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops. Okay, I should not do this anymore until I have fixed the problem. Bummer. I feel ashamed now. So yeah, let's now play a bit with all this in mind, without having to worry about explaining the parameters. Okay. Now I'll be in free mode, just having fun with frames, okay? I hope that with this overview you can more easily understand what each parameter does and have a better experience with frames. I will promise I will try to know what's going on with that recording function. It was a surprise to me. One more thing, just like the RC, we have a Chorder function. Let's choose. There is one little preset I really love here. I think it's called whoa, where is it? Rare can't find it. Okay, it's here. Okay, so Chorder, just like the RC, I have a Chorder, and this allows you to play chords in minor, major, and diminished 7. And you have the strum over here. So with this record on tubes preset, we can have instant beautiful sounds with the Chorder. And that's it. I think we are done for today, and I hope you have enjoyed this overview, and we will continue to deliver a total new series of frames tutorials. I will leave those tutorials to Lucas. He's much more artist than I am. My main keyboard playing activities is the one with letters, and yeah, basically you'll see many tutorials from now on for frames and all the synthesis capabilities it provides, and as well have some details that I might have failed to explain in deeper. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Good night.